Hey guys, Evacso here. Today I've got some new legendary difficulty realistic sliders. This is after title update 9. I've got two sets, one for the longer halves and one for the shorter halves. So after the big changes in title update 8, there wasn't too many in title update 9, so basically there is a lot of goals happening. So these realistic sliders do lower the goal scoring lines, but the chances are still there. It's so easy to get into the final third and you can't really stop that at the moment. But I've done my best to slow down the attack, so let's get in the longer half sliders first. So these work for 7-minute halves all the way to 10-minute halves. Obviously the difficulty level is on legendary, competitive mode on off, and play-based difficulty on off. My camera settings, I've got broadcast camera, height on 0, zoom on 0, fast side focused on 5, and ball tracking speed on 0. And before I get into the sliders, please like and subscribe if you haven't. I'm pushing 5k subscribers, let's get there. Alright, my CPU sliders, tackle aggression, I've kept that on 35 all year. I've lowered the build-up speed, just obviously trying to slow down these attacks. Got this down to 38. Shot frequency, it's another thing, they're just shooting from distance a lot of shots from outside the box. So I lowered this down to 45 and there'll just be less shots. Obviously there was a lot of long shots also going in, so there's a couple goals we can get rid of. So first touch pass frequency on 50, crossing frequency the same, dribble frequency the same, and skill move frequency also the same. So I try to make everything slower, lower the sprint speed down. This is very similar to the world class difficulty sliders, but just a few things tweaked for legendary difficulty. So sprint speed on 35 for both user and CPU, 49 acceleration for the user, 50 for the CPU. This is the one advantage for the CPU team, the extra acceleration, but there's also a few advantages for the user team. So shot error, increase this heaps, up to 70 for user and CPU. Obviously shooting is so good, shooting, passing, run frequency, they've just all been buffed right now. So shooting, you just want to increase that error, you want to increase that pass error. So 60 for user, 62 for CPU. Lowered the shot speed down from 50 to down to 48 for both user and CPU. Lowered the pass speed heaps. I think this one was on 48 before, down to 44 for both user and CPU. Injury frequency, kept this on 50 for both user and CPU. Injury severity, 30 for both user and CPU. Goal capability, I've increased this from 45 to 48. If you're still getting a lot of goals happening, you can increase this to 50. But at the moment, I'm just keeping it at 48. Marking at 73 for both user and CPU. I did have this on 74, and then it was a little bit too easy when I was versing the lower teams. But it is good to put this up to 74 if you're versing a team a lot better than your team. Run frequency on 55 for both user and CPU. On 55, I don't think there's a lot of runs, like it's lowered a fair bit just to sort of stop goals from happening. But there's a lot of times where your wingers are not making runs, which they really should be making. So if you have a team that's a little bit lower rated, you can put this up to 60 and that will be very good. Line height on 70 for both user and CPU. Line length, lower this down heaps. I think this was on 42 before. Just way too much space, especially after title update 8, when any team can just run to the final third. It doesn't matter what kind of tactics they're playing at. They just sprint straight through. So easy to get through that midfield. At the moment, it's just like end-to-end football. So even if you're lowering this down, this line length, it's not really helping it a lot. At least it stops a little bit of those chances happening. Got a line width at 47 for both user and CPU. Fullback position on 75 for both user and CPU. Power bar, this is your preference, but I've been keeping this on 52. You're still struggling a little bit, this is a good one to put up to 55. We've got first touch control error on 60 for both user and CPU. So that's it for the sliders for my longer halves. Let's get in the short game sliders. So these are the short game sliders. I've been using these on 5-minute halves. You can also use it on 4-minute halves and 6-minute halves. Keeping the competitive mode on off and play-based difficulty on off. Same camera settings. Let's get in the CPU sliders. Not too much changes. I've just got the build-up speed up from 38 to 40 for my longer half sliders. Shot frequency, I also kept this on 45. They take a lot of shots as well in the short game sliders. Almost more long shots in the short games than the longer halves. Like I said before, when you're lowering the minutes down, the gameplay does change in this game. And all the rest of the CPU sliders are the exact same from the longer halves. Let's get in the simulation settings. The same sprint speed at 35 for both user and CPU. We've got the acceleration of 49 for both user and CPU. Now shot error is a big change from the longer halves. Got this at 58 for the user team, 61 for the CPU team. If you're conceding a little bit too many goals, you can increase this up to 62 for the CPU team. Pass error on 58 for the user, 62 for the CPU. Even with a CPU having 62 pass error, they're still amazing with passing, especially some of those through balls where your centre backs have like no chance of getting it, no interceptions, and it's straight to the striker who can have a one-on-one chance with the goalkeeper. Shot speed on 49 for both user and CPU, pass speed on 45 for both user and CPU, injury frequency on 50 for both user and CPU, severity is 30 for both user and CPU, goal capability, I had this on 45 as well for the user and CPU. Again, like the last sliders, longer half sliders, you can put this up to 48. Marking on 70 for your user team, marking on 64 for the CPU team. There's a big difference in this one. Big advantage for the user team, but still, like the marking, they don't mark as good as they were before. There was a patch where it was like 4 or 5 title update and they were like actually marking a little bit better. As soon as title update 8 here, it's just, there's no marking at all, no defense at all. It's just end-to-end football no matter what. I've got this at 64 for the CPU team only because it's short games and 64 is still quite competitive. 58 run frequency for user, 55 for CPU. Just a little bit of an advantage for the user team. There is a few more advantages in the short game sliders. Line height on 72 for user, 70 for CPU. So in short games there are a couple differences from the longer halves. Gameplay wise when you're lower in the minutes, and the user team just drops off a lot more. Even you're putting it up to 72, they still will drop off. Like I've said before, it's very end to end, and when they're dropping off all the way into your box, you've got no chance of defending. So increase up to 72, still struggling, especially if you have slow centre backs. Go and put this up to 75 because you're going to have no chance of defending. Line length on 34 for user, 37 for CPU. Got the line width on 47 for user, another advantage with line width on 48 for CPU. Fullback position on 78 for both user and CPU, power bar on 52, and first touch control error on 55 for both user and CPU. So after these sliders modifications, there is still some high scoring games sometimes, but most of the games will be ending with only 2 or 3 goals. That's what you want, but still there's some of those games where you could end up with a 4-all scoreline. We desperately need some changes in Title Update 10. There needs to be some massive gameplay changes. Honestly, just revert back to like Title Update 5. That was one of the best ones. Anyway, thank you for watching. I will be making some tactical view sliders. Please like and subscribe if you haven't, and I'll catch you guys later.